All right, afternoon. Back at it. Coming off a victory against Ball State. We've talked about it. I think we talked about it after the game. We didn't play our best, but what we did well in that game is that we won the game. What we need to do better is certainly I've got to prepare our football team better. And what we learned is that we have to be so much more intentional in our process during the week. And so we've already addressed that. We've watched the film. We've made our corrections. And we've moved on to Vanderbilt. So we've got an SEC opponent coming into town, good personnel, physical, good quarterback. Shermer's done a nice job. Defensive structure is really solid, sound, and as you would expect, personnel that can play with SEC opponents. So certainly a challenge for us here this weekend, and one that I know our players are looking forward to, our coaches are looking forward to, and know that we have to play much better football. So with that, let's get it rolling.
Brian?
Yes.
When you have a game such that you had a lot of defensive players getting 90 or more snaps in that game,
yes,
is that a concern just within the game itself, or is that a concern over the length of the season?
No, I think you learn, obviously 97 plays defended in the game. I think, first of all, Ball State did a great job controlling it. They had 23 third down opportunities. So, I think there's some things that we can pick from that in a game too, which allows us to really, be better at moving forward and learn from. It's a long season, and this is a game, in particular the Ball State game, that, gave us some things to consider and, work towards being better at.
With both Harry and Jeff, you've had some pretty good success recruiting high school tackles and then kind of fitting them to a position here. With Alex, he's played both. Curious, was it more need that pushed you toward guard ultimately with him later in his career, and what kind of tackle would he have made?
I just think his size, when you're looking at a tackle, sometimes length generally is one of the traits that you're looking for, and certainly he has enough length to play there. I'd be hesitant to say that he couldn't play tackle. I think he just fit at the time when you had, Mike McGlinchey at one side, and then we felt like we wanted to be more physical inside, and Alex brought a big 315-pound frame. So once you feel comfortable with the makeup of a player, unless it's really need-driven, like you have to play him there, you really want to try to build some continuity. And I know he felt more comfortable inside, and we just tried to stay with some continuity with him at that position. Yeah, I think there's some similarity. There's going to be some crossover in terms of the defensive structure. 3 down, they like to play 3-4, but personnel will put them in some 4 down situations as well. So you have to be prepared for that. Multiple coverage looks. They do a really good job defensively, and that's what Derek has done all of his career. And I don't know Coach Tarver very well, but he's got a great resume, and they're off to a great start. So we have a lot of respect for what they do, and we'll have to be well prepared.
I guess a follow-up to that, it kind of relates to you too. It's Jeff Long, your offensive coordinator, but Tarver is his defensive coordinator. Do you just, when you know a head coach's tendencies, or you play against him a lot, is that something you kind of fall back on what the head coach prefers in certain situations? He's known as a defensive coach.
Well, I don't know that you get the particular tendencies from year to year. They definitely change up, but you do get structure and know what they like versus particular down and distance, and you can bet they're going to be in these kinds of looks on third down, and they're going to have multiplicity. They're going to bring, pressures. Yeah, we play them once a year, Stanford, and so there is some carryover there, but there is, as you watch this group play, they've morphed towards what Coach Tarver likes to have done in his experience in the NFL as well.
Brian, have you over here? You've said after the game and then again today that you've identified that you needed to prepare the team better. Mm-hmm. What specifically have you identified that you can do that would make them play better, do you think? Everything. From tying their shoes to the food that we feed them. We got to control the weather better. Preparation is what I'm responsible for, and we're going to do a better job this week.
I think you mentioned 2 weeks ago that you wanted the team to focus on putting teams away, and you didn't say that last week, but obviously that was something you guys weren't able to do. As you look at game flow when you're up double digits on an opponent, philosophically, would you like to be more aggressive in play calling and try and score points and build the lead late in the game, or are you more likely to get conservative and try and kill the clock, do you think?
I think each situation's different, quite honestly. I just want to win games. I've never been about style points or, what they look like as much as just trying to find a way to win a game. So I think my entire career has been about if we need to run the football here, even though, more points would be better, I don't want to put us in a position where we could jeopardize winning the football game. So for me, it's always philosophically been about time and place in the game and how you can win the game more so than, what it looks like.
Brent, a bit of a transition year for you guys at wide receiver. Through 2 games, how would you evaluate the Claypool, in particular Claypool, Boykin, and Fink stepping into lead roles for your receiving corps?
I think probably what you expect in week 2. We're not a finished product yet. We're still need to be more consistent as a group and within our entire passing game. I think it's ahead of where it was last year, certainly, and it needed to be. But there's plenty of room for improvement in all areas. Week 2, we've made some progress, but we're going to need to continue to get better if we want to get to where we want to be.
What 1 or 2 things would you say? I mean, you said they're ahead of where you were last year. What have they done well up to this point?
Well, we made some contested catches. We've won some 50-50 battles. We've been physical as blockers. There's still that process of growing as a tandem with the quarterback that has to continue to see itself through. And I'd like to say that all the receivers are on the same page, but we're still evolving there. And so after week 2, I'd say we've made progress, but I still think we're maybe in some instances a step behind on a route and still feeling our way through it. I think our tight ends are much more in sync with our quarterback in the passing game. That's looking better, but pretty much where I thought it would be in week 2, and it needs to continue to get better.
I know you haven't taken the field yet, but do you know any more about Komet since Sunday?
It's more of a high ankle sprain, so he's going to be limited. It's going to take some time. I would think he's doubtful for this weekend.
After every game, especially the other night, you and the offensive linemen, immediately say you have to see film, and it's understandable because you guys have the worst view of all. But when you sit down and watch that film, I mean, how much do you discover? Are you oftentimes shocked by, because there has to be a lot of plays where you can't even really see from your vantage point.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the phrase has always been used, and you're in this business in a sense as a former coach. It's never quite as good as you think, and it's never quite as bad. But what you really learn is that it's never about one player. It's generally, you know, it was a misfit, or you know, we didn't get to the second level, or you know, the 5 technique had always spiked inside. This time he spiked outside. So it's always a combination of things. I think the bottom line relative to some of the things that went up front was that just a little bit too much indecision, a little bit too much thinking. We need to get off the ball, hit some people in the nose, and let's get rolling. I think there was just a little bit too much, you know, back-to-back weeks, a lot of stuff going on, and a little bit too much indecision. This week will be much more, we're getting off the ball and be much more physical.
You're not specifically play calling anymore, but I would imagine that you're in communication with people up top all the time to find out,
Sure.
find out what happened there.
Yeah, absolutely.
You find yourself looking at the video board to see what happened at times?
No, not really. You know, because it's happening. I'm trying to stay ahead of it. You know, I'm thinking about 4th down situations. I'm thinking about play calls, run and pass, you know, management of the game. It's hard to take a look at it. I'm 0 for 2 in challenging plays. I need to do a better job there, watching the board. So I'm not really looking at the board relative to plays. I'm trying to think of some other things that are going on.
Thank you.
Coach,
Yes.
you've said that with Brandon, you want to let him do sort of what he does best and let him run, but in this past week, there didn't seem to be a lot of designed run plays for him. Was that because of what they were showing you on defense, or did you go in with a plan to let him run more? I think he was the leading rusher against Michigan.
Yeah. You know, a lot of our run plays are designed within a play itself. So a pass play could turn into a designed run based upon what he reads. So I think what we have to do is continue to make sure that we pay attention to detail within our structure and offense. And I think Brandon learned a lot from that game. And what I mean by that is that he's given a lot of run-pass options. So I would not buy much into the notion that he's going to stop running and we're just going to be, you know, throwing the football. What we really need to do is continue to work towards what his strengths are.
And this is sort of off football topic, but today is the anniversary of September 11th.
Yeah.
Would you mind just sharing sort of where you were and what you remember from
It was
that?
really one of the first things that I thought of today, and certainly, you know, such an important day and so many lives that, you know, were lost. But I was preparing for practice as I was the head coach at Grand Valley State, and we were in our end zone. We had a suite of offices in the end zone, and I was drawing up the cards as the head coach. I only had 3 full-time assistant coaches, so I drew all the scout cards as well as the head coach and the offensive coordinator for the scout team. And we had this old box TV that was on as just backdrop, and one of the guys ran up from downstairs and said that there was a fire in one of the towers, and we turned it on, and we were playing our rival that weekend, Ferris State, and ended up canceling the game. Yeah, it was really the first thing I thought about this morning.
Ryan, over here. When you look at your run defense to date so far, I don't think you've given up an explosive run, and if you scrap sort of quarterback scrambles where the guy slips out of the pocket, I don't think you've given up much of really anything. What have been the biggest keys for keeping that in a good way?
I think second-level support has been much better, and it starts with better tackling at the second level. You know, Drew and Tavon obviously are really good linebackers as well, and you know, a very conscientious group up front. So you know, I don't think you just say, well, the safeties are tackling better. I think you look at all 3 levels, and all of them have to be part of that. A conscientious group up front where they're not out of their gaps, two really good linebackers and in particular, Tavon, who's really instinctive, and then our safety play. They're getting the ball down on the ground.
When it comes to the mental edge this week, in some ways, is this an easy correction just based on how last Saturday went, in the same way that last Saturday may have been hard because the environment was such a step down from Michigan to Ball State?
Well, they know that the standard of play wasn't what it needs to be last week, and so I think everybody, including myself, wants it corrected. So I think it's what I said at the outset, is that there's a lot more intentionality about how we prepare, and we expect to see that come to fruition.
Like, is there a specific you could give, like, what would be more intentional this week? Is it, whether it be a drill or a meeting or just sort of how you conduct group stuff in here?
I just think that starts with respecting your opponent, and it carries itself into the way you practice, and you have to have that build-up, throughout the entire week. And, I think our players really understand that, the whole week cumulatively gets you ready for Saturday, not 24 hours prior to the game. And so we all learned, we got to coach better. We have to prepare them better. I have to prepare them better, making sure that today is a great day, a physical day, and that we build on it each and every day.
With your offensive line, as that develops, there's just something to be said of, you've got three guys in new positions, a new coach, like that there's going to be some learning as the season goes on. Maybe it's not happening as fast as you would like it to at times, but is that just sort of a natural state of where that line is with a new coach and three guys in new positions, one being a new starter entirely?
Yeah, there's work to be done. There's no doubt about that. But I've been in it long enough to know where the red panic button is, and it's not even near my desk. But there's work to be done. And we have to build continuity, communication, a standard of how we practice, and a standard of how we communicate on a day-to-day basis. So there's some work to be done, but I'm confident that the unit is going to be really strong.
Brian, you've gone through the fall preseason and the first two games. You got a pretty good idea where people are fitting on your team. Is there a possibility, where is the opportunity for a young man to step up during practice during the week to make an impression where he maybe moves up the depth chart? Yeah.
Well, they're on high, kind of alert this week in particular. If they're not with us, in the 2 deep, they're on the demonstration squad, the scout team, and they have to play at a high level. So, and they know that. All eyes are on them. So these are weeks where they can really impress us and give us an opportunity to evaluate them. And so Mike Elston can come in and say, so-and-so on the offensive line was really impressive today. He went toe-to-toe with Jerry Tillery. That's pretty good. Or, wide receiver, went up over Julian Love twice and took the ball away. You get a great opportunity to do that. So, we met with our guys that are down there to let them know that same kind of question that you asked. You still have an opportunity to if you want to play this year, to make an impact, and that's how we communicated it to them.
Coach, has there been anyone on the Vanderbilt offense that's kind of jumped off the screen from you watching them so far?
Yeah, I like the backs. I mean, Shermer's been really efficient, throws the ball well. A couple of things. First of all, the cohesiveness of the offensive line, a group that's played together. I don't think you can ever feel like a good offensive line that plays together is not a strength of your team. I think that stands out to me. The other notes that I took down, with Kyle, plays a lot of snaps in the SEC. So he's a guy that's going to come in here with a lot of confidence. This entire team will. They've played in a lot of tough locations. But the three backs, I think Keyshawn Vaughn, you know, the transfer, he does a lot of really good things. Can catch the ball coming out of the backfield, really an outstanding back. And, you know, Blasingame and Wakefield, they can go pretty deep. The tight end, I think, is a pro prospect. You know, Pinckney is a guy that Shermer looks for, and Lipscomb, the wide receiver. Those are two guys in particular that Lipscomb's, you know, shifty. He's not maybe a burner, but boy, he runs extremely well, and he goes and gets the football.
With the way Saturday felt, I mean, I know you guys still won it, but it didn't feel great. Do you feel like there's going to be some extra sense of urgency in practice this week to maybe kind of make up for last week?
Yeah, like I said, what we did well is we won the game, but you know, what we need to do better is prepare better. Our preparation has to be better. I've got to prepare them better. So we've got to coach better. And then our guys know that, you know, what we learned from last week is that we got to be locked in on our process. If we're not locked in our process, you know, this is a difficult game. You can get beat any week, and this is a good opponent coming into Notre Dame Stadium. We'll have to play well.
Brian, you had a number of freshmen that have played as kick returners in high school, but Seabell Flemister was the guy that's kind of taken over that role this past week. What was he able to do to kind of show himself as a guy that could handle that role as a freshman?
Pretty good vision. Didn't have a resume, really, quite honestly. You know, we were just trying to look for guys that we felt like had shown some things in camp and the first week or so that had pretty good vision and could hit some things. You know, again, he's still learning. He missed a cut that, you know, he saw on film this week. So I still think we're evolving, you know, at that position as well. But we think he's talented, and he's a guy that we can count on to be a good kick return guy for us moving forward.
Brian, you mentioned in one of your responses to Tim about many times it's several components that have to come together for improvement.
Yeah.
What would those components, how would you prioritize them in terms of blitz pickup right now?
Oh, you know, that's just awareness more than anything else, you know, being aware. And so a couple of those things, you know, we picked up incredibly all kinds of blitzes the week before. So we're not, you know, we're not lacking from awareness. We needed to be much more aware on Saturday. So, you know, that focus, you know, that preparation, it's got to be better. And we got to coach them better. So, you know, it's there. We just got to get them locked in, and we're confident that our guys can do it.
And then just to follow up on another one of your answers, you talked about the offensive line thinking too much and not just going and hitting people.
Yeah.
How do you take them from that level of we're standing around thinking to hitting somebody in a week?
I know you're not going to want to hear this, but if you prepare the right way, then you shouldn't be thinking on Saturdays. You should be reacting, right? If our preparation and our coaching is such that in practice that they see it, they've reacted to it, then on Saturday it should be second nature. You can't be standing around on game day waiting for things to happen. You have to flip the switch in a competitive mode and play and trust your teaching and trust what happened in practice and then react. And so that's why the preparation was not what it needed to be, because our guys were standing around. So I take full responsibility for that, and we've got to get better.
All right.
Good.
Thank you, everybody.
All righty.